Hello and welcome to the Nightmare Vault. Today we'll be checking out the story Persuaded by Chris Stewart. Pretty much just chose this one because I like zombies and this is the most highest rated on the CreepyPasta website. So.
Talk about lazy, although I guess it's probably not as much effort as I would do. I just would go onto the site, scroll, and keep scrolling until I see something that just perks my eyes and I'm like, click, okay, we're doing a video on that.
Yeah.
Which is not how I ended up doing the Strider video. It was like, I really like the Strider, and I actually sort of explained why I did it first in that video.
Yeah.
Just because it was the thing that got me into creepypasta. So I thought if I'm going to do my first creepypasta, might as well do it on the thing that got me down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, and I'm basically the opposite. You know, I mean, I don't obviously heard of the Slender Man and some of the other more popular ones, but yeah, I've never actually read a creepypasta until you showed me the Strider. So I guess, yeah, with this one, because I do like zombie stories and this is the highest rated, 2,500 votes, 9.1 out of 10.
9.01. You forgot that O, that ought.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm going to have pretty big expectations for the story.
Hey, at least I won't be narrating it this time, so probably actually, well, have a nicer narrator.
We'll see. All right, should we move on to the story? It's been 2 weeks since this whole thing started. It all started with a tanker accident. It was all over the news. Everyone thought it was just another oil spill. There were plenty of volunteers, plenty of people wanting to help the poor defenseless animals. Plenty of victims. Within hours of the tanker accident, it started happening. The animals had gone crazy. They were scratching and biting the cleanup volunteers. They said that it was an adverse effect to whatever was in that tanker. Rescue workers were still trying to get the crew out of the ship. They could hear screaming inside, screams to open the doors. But that's when it all went to hell, as soon as they cut the door out. There was 6 minutes of broadcast before it went silent. 6 minutes of screaming and agony. The ship crew attacked the rescue workers like rabid baboons, breaking bones and tearing flesh. The people on the shore weren't faring any better. Those that had been attacked by animals were attacking everyone else. It was worse than any war zone report. It was sheer brutality, and yet the broadcast still went on for 6 minutes. 6 minutes and then blank faces. Nobody could explain what was happening. They tried to continue with regular news, the economy, the weather, a cute human interest story, but they couldn't make us unsee what we saw. I tried to continue with my regular existence, but every time I switched on the news or walked by a newsstand, it was there. This big mystery. They had some explanations, some kind of infection, brain parasites, but it didn't matter. It wasn't an infection we were afraid of. It was them. 4 days after the initial report, a state of emergency was raised. And yet, we'd all seen this before. Every zombie movie, people didn't know who to trust. People were stockpiling food and weapons. Some tried to flee, but it seems every zombie movie was right. They didn't make it. 3 days later, they arrived in my town. I expected moans, shuffling corpses, dismemberment, but that's where the movies lied. They ran through the streets, screaming. I remember running to my front door as fast as I could, locking, barricading, doing anything to make sure it would stay shut. And then I headed for the window. I was on the second story and I could see the carnage. They were unstoppable. They were aware. A group of them made their way through a building across the street. They jumped straight through the plate glass windows. Even the shards slicing through them made no difference. They just kept coming. My barricade wasn't going to hold. I rushed around my flat, grabbing supplies and jamming them into the most secure room of the flat. I went back for one last look across the street, and I wish I hadn't. In a second story window, my face met one of theirs. They knew where I was. I quickly dashed into the room and locked the door. I didn't have any kind of panic room or secure basement, so the safest place I could think of was my bathroom. No windows, one door with a lock. I had filled my sink and bathtub full of water so I could stay for a while. So I sat there in the dark room and the distant screams in my ears. I began to feel like I may have overreacted. It had been 2 hours and no sign of them. It actually got quieter, and I thought that they had moved on. Maybe I could leave the room, get to the kitchen, grab more food to wait it out. A crash came from the front door, the sound of someone running full force into the door and knocking down the barrier behind it. There was a couple more crashes before I knew they were inside. Rapid footsteps moving around the flat, a couple screams, and then a bang on the wall beside me. My eyes were open to their widest, even the pitch black darkness of the room. Another bang and another. They knew I was there, and they knew I was scared. This was the zombie nightmare I had been expecting from the start. I had nowhere to run. There was only so much time before they would break in. I sat with my back to the door, hoping my extra weight would make it harder for them to get in. And then it got worse. Why don't you open the door? A voice on the opposite side of the door. No screams or moans, just a quiet, whispery voice. And then more of them. We've come for you. You'll be happier if you open the door. It's not so bad. The whispery voices became a cacophony of noise trying to persuade me, to break me, to fool me. I had heard the moaning of zombies would drive people insane, but this was worse. A siren call. I sat in the darkness and hoped and prayed that they'd get bored. But they don't get bored, and they don't leave. I managed to use the mirror to peek under the door, only to be greeted by horrible, unblinking eyes, blood-smeared faces, screams, and more horrible whispers. That was 2 days ago. I don't know what to do anymore. Maybe it won't be so bad.
And that's the end of it. Which I actually kind of like the ending to this one because it's kind of vague.
It definitely is. Yeah, it's...
Although I think we know what happened at the end.
Well, I mean, yeah, if they were able to break through a barricaded front door, a bathroom door, generally not as strong as a front door of the house, so they're getting in pretty soon, I reckon. Unless, yeah, obviously he succumbs to the whispers and just takes it willingly.
Not only that, but I don't think it's not that hard to knock through a wall anyway.
No. Yeah, particularly, yeah, running full force. Of course, yeah, if well, I guess a bathroom is tiled sometimes on the walls, so that would make it a bit harder, but yeah, generally just to run through a plasterboard wall, pretty easy. Particularly going full force. And if there's multiple bodies being thrown at it, which I assume there would be, seeing that he says whispers. Mm-hmm. Unless it is sort of like a hive mind. But yeah, I would say overall, I don't know if it's a 9 out of 10.
No, definitely not.
I would say
it's good, but not that good.
Yeah, like it's cohesive. It makes sense. It's definitely not the most interesting or like unique zombie story.
If I had to rank, I'm just trying to think of what I ranked the Strider. I think I gave the Strider a 5, but personally gave it a 6. I'm just trying to think where I'm putting this.
Yeah, I would say like overall, like it definitely has a lot of similarities to, is it Night of the Living Dead, where there's like a similar accident that has happened and then things go bad from there.
Oh yeah, isn't that the I'm thinking of the 28 days later.
Yeah, 28 days later.
That actually is a good zombie film.
That is, yeah. That's definitely up there for me. I guess it's got a bit of that because like it focuses around one male character and their sort of movements.
Although I'm thinking it's 28 days though, where he's just they're just hanging out in the countryside and then like shit goes to hell and he just basically leaves his family to die and heads for the boat.
That's part of it because there's kind of
I just like that scene. It's like help me, and that's exactly what I do in that situation. I don't care if I was married to you. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, because there's, or is that 28 weeks?
No,
later?
28 weeks later is the sequel to it. I think, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, because there's the different stories. Because, there's like...
Although I feel like the start of 28 Weeks Later is fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's one movie which I think I only got like halfway through and stopped watching it. It kind of got a bit boring at the midpoint. Apparently they are thinking about doing it 28 years later, which would be cool, and bringing Cillian Murphy back, which would be interesting.
No, okay. I think it is 28 weeks later.
Because I definitely know the scene that you're talking about where, they're in the countryside and then like everything's going well and then something bad happens one night and then,
Oh, yeah, it is. It looks like it is 28 weeks later.
Yeah.
Oh, like, that had a really good opening and I just mistook that for 28 days later.
Yeah.
I just had a bit of a brain fart there and it took me a bit to check it. It didn't help that I was looking at the wrong movie too for the 28 days later. This is a 2000 one, but there's the 2002 zombie movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'd say like it's got some similarities, but it's also got that thing of like...
Although I can say at least the first half of 28 weeks later is pretty good. Well, not even first half, like first quarter, just that start scene of 28 is good.
Yeah.
I think it would have been fine as its own little short film, honestly.
Yeah. Because it gets a bit complicated and
that's stupid just how it starts up again.
Yeah, I agree. But as for Persuaded, I guess now I get the idea of the title as well.
It's like I was wondering where it was going.
Yeah.
So I was keeping an eye out for that.
But it's also got a bit of that like The Last of Us sort of thing because there is that hive mind.
I wasn't really getting that vibe, really. I was just more getting like the horde mentality of like something like Left 4 Dead, where like it's out here, like if you set off a car alarm, it triggers a horde to swarm you.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a good point as well. Yeah, I guess because it is talking, that's kind of where like my brain is going more The Last of Us.
Well, I guess it also depends on like the zombie media we kind of can see because I'm more of George Romero. Yeah, there we go.
Romero. Yeah. Like I'm a big fan of George Romero.
Like the early films are pretty good, although the first one, it's good for its time.
Yeah, it's
the reboot was interesting, where they just shack up in the mall for a bit.
Yeah,
I don't know why they decided to, do the dumb choice they did, which had to force them to abandon the mall.
So that was
they weren't even really forced. It was like they decided to leave, which is like why.
Yeah, that was...
Like, supplies will eventually run out, but if you manage your shit right, you've got farming and shit already set up by the time you run out of those supplies.
Yeah, so Day of the Dead, I think that one was. I'm the same, like I would have lived there the entire time. I can't remember why they wanted to leave.
I think they just put it to a vote and was like, fuck it, let's go to this island, and when the few that do make it to the island get there's a bunch of zombies there, so they just end up dying in a blaze of glory.
Because I remember there's the one woman who's pregnant and she gives birth to the zombie baby, but then there's also the other guy, like the guy that's held up in the ammo store, like across from where they are. And was it his plan maybe?
No, he ended up getting killed. I can't remember why, but I think it was something stupid.
Yeah, like I remember.
Oh, because fucking, what's it? I think it was what's her name? Panicked for the dog and went after the dog.
Yeah,
and then,
that's right. Yeah.
And then Andy, being a good person, realizing, well, she's now fucked, tries to let her in, but one of the zombies managed to kind of catch on what's going on and managed to sneak his way in.
Yeah, because I think he was...
And jump him.
Yeah, he was telling them that I think he was running out of food maybe or something like that.
Yeah, and they used the dog as a mule and just added packaged some food on it to send over, and then something happened, and I think someone panicked and tried to go after the dog, and then in the process ended up screwing herself over, but also Andy over.
Yeah.
And also the dog too, because now he's got no one to look after him.
Yes.
I don't think the zombies would have gone after him, but they should. From what I think of how a zombie behaves, they would attack basically anything that's living.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually. I haven't thought.
Although, speaking of zombie movies that I actually need to see, I actually started watching but haven't finished watching Train to Busan.
Oh, yeah, that's on
that
my
one's actually
list.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, even though I think I've made it through the first quarter.
Okay.
But I just really like, again, that style of 28 days later zombies where they're not the slow shambling creatures that you see in Romero films. Like, don't get me wrong, they're good, but I like these kind of more realistic, more aggressive zombies.
Yeah, the fast ones. You get that in World War Z as well.
Although
But
I'm not a fan of World War Z. I haven't seen it and never will, but the bits and pieces I've seen of it, it's like, oh, God.
I would
Just
say-
the amount of plot armor Brad Pitt has.
I didn't mind it. There's definitely some points where it gets pretty typical and a little bit slow, but definitely the last. It's sort of like the middle, like the first quarter of the movie's pretty good. There's like a middle section which is not bad. There's parts where it like gets a bit confusing.
Just describe my opinion on World War Z. I'd rather watch 2012 again than watch World War Z.
Having seen both of the films, I definitely watched World War Z like 10 times before watching 2012.
I actually kind of enjoyed 2012, but I guess I was young when I watched it, so I might have to revisit.
Yeah, I didn't mind it the first time I watched 2012, but on rewatch it's not great. But yeah, the last maybe third or quarter of World War Z is pretty good as well. It sort of like raises the stakes up pretty high, and there's lots of tension. I tried reading the book, but I found the book really boring.
From what I've heard, actually, they kind of deviated quite a bit from the book.
Yeah, like I found with the book, it's sort of like written from like diary entries, and
I kind of like that idea. I think that wouldn't. Well, I guess it could work with a film, but it's really good for book form.
Yeah, it just wasn't really what I was expecting.
It reminds me of what is it, Zumble Diaries, which is actually a fun game that you need to check out.
Yeah,
it kind of does that if you've seen the gameplay. I really like that. Like, it's another game that's similar to that I also like is This War of Mine. I absolutely love that game.
Right, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, you need to play it. It's a really good game. I think there was a sale for it not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
You could get it for like $10. It's like This War of Mine plus the little ones and I think a couple of other like bonus stuff.
Right.
For under $10, so it was worth it.
Okay, cool.
Especially considering it's a game that kind of almost has an infinite replay value because you can kind of be like, do your own kind of custom like playthrough where it's like, a long time until, the ceasefire happens.
Oh, okay.
And then you can have like really harsh winters and stuff like that, and then have like a really high crime rate, or have not a lot of crime in inverse and mix it up a bit. And even then, if you were to just go and do a run, it just randomizes those factors and that, and you just got to make do with the resources you can get your hands on and what you got.
That's interesting. I guess the only sort of plot point that when it comes to Persuaded is probably the 6 minutes. It's probably because like I just know how TV stations and radio stations work, where you do have it's like kind of like a kill switch, where it's like if something controversial is said or bad language is said on the radio or on TV, there's like a kill switch, there's a couple. There's one that erases like the past minute of whatever's just happened, and that doesn't get broadcast because there is a delay in broadcast time. So like if you're watching live news, it's technically not live. It's technically like a minute or two in the past. So like when it comes to the 6 minutes, I like it as part of the story, but from like a technical point, they would
have cut the feed truly.
Yeah. So it makes for like compelling, intense story, but technical terms, it wouldn't have really happened that way.
Not only that, but I'm not a fan of the start. That's my biggest gripe.
Okay, fair enough.
I do like the ending and kind of the middle point where he does kind of shack up in his bathroom with that temptation of like the zombies trying to be like, come out, it's not so bad.
Yeah. That was I do like the ending. It was pretty cool. I would say because this is a pretty old story as well, 2008.
So it's definitely in that early era.
Yeah.
Although I can definitely tell this has had a fair bit of passion into it instead of some of the stuff that will come later.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely care taken, where there's definitely not those like obvious grammatical errors. There's a few points where...
Although I think as you're reading through it, I think I noticed you skipped a word or two.
Oh, okay. Maybe. There was a few points where...
Even though those words or two don't really make much difference, I think it doesn't really change much that you skip them.
Yeah, there's a few points where certain things were like repeated.
Oh yeah,
what was it?
I think, wasn't it? Like
Something about the door. I remember when they broke through the door. So it's so small, but yeah, just a little bit there. So yeah, it says here, the sound of someone running full force into the door and knocking down the barrier behind it, and then a couple more crashes, and then they were inside. That just little part there. So I guess it's sort of like they knocked the barrier down before knocking the door in. I would think as the force is hitting the door would have broken before the barrier, but I guess depends on how good the barrier is.
It'd have been nice, it depends on what you slide in front of your door. Like I think here, #alive, it's just like Netflix attempt to kind of cash in on the Korean zombie trend.
Oh, okay.
Even though they already had, I think All of Us Was Dead, which was apparently getting another season.
Yeah, I watched maybe an episode or two of All of Us Are Dead. I couldn't finish it.
I actually kind of enjoyed it. So what's your gripe with it, even though this is not the subject of the video, but I want to bring this up.
I found it was sort of something that annoys me a lot in just horror movies in general is like the choices characters make.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like a lot of the time in All of Us Are Dead, it was just like, no, like not everyone can be that stupid. Like sure you have one or two stupid characters that are going to do dumb stuff, but
these are also kids. So.
They are kids, but there was the teachers as well.
Oh yeah, some of them did some pretty stupid shit.
Yeah, so that was my main gripe, and I was like,
Although I'm not sure about what's his name, Mother. Who made it all the way to school just to die.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'm not sure if you've seen that part.
I don't think
that's a bit later on.
I don't think so. Yeah,
but it's kind of understandable to see what your son's best friend zombified and kind of have that reaction, considering that you could kind of have that leap of logic that's also happened to Sunset's kind of half like kind of not wanting to believe her son is dead, but at the same time being like, yeah, my son's dead. And and she calls out to his zombified friend, which draws his attention. And she doesn't really do anything as he comes and bites her. Right.
Yeah, okay. So as for rating this one, as I said, definitely I wouldn't give it a 9 out of 10. It overall, I think it does set up potentially something bigger and sort of better than what it is. So
definitely. Like I think wasn't in one of the comments below saying like, I'm kind of making this short film that's kind of like inspired by it.
Yeah. So
I would like to see where that went, so I'm gonna have to try and get in touch with that person.
Yeah. So I would say overall, I would probably go a 7.5. I'm leaning towards 8. I guess
I can't do 8.
I'm leaning towards 8 for the
I'd have to give it a 7.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards 8 for the only reason being that I do think you could expand on it.
I'm going to have to go with a 6.66. I had to do it.
Fair enough. But I would say...
Actually, I think that's Tukan. I'd have to give it a flat 6.
So I would say probably a 7.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a flat 6.
Cool. All right. So I think that does us for this one. I guess because there wasn't so many problems with this story, it was kind of hard to really pick it apart.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's kind of good, but not like super good.
Yeah.
So there's not much praise we can give to it neither.
So let us know your guys' thoughts on Persuaded by Chris Stewart, and what's your favorite zombie story, movie,
film. I guess can we throw games in there?
Yeah, absolutely. Games, TV shows.
Favorite game, Left 4 Dead 2.
Left 4 Dead 2. Ooh, I'm gonna have to say probably Undead Nightmare.
Oh yeah, isn't that the
Red Dead's DLC?
I actually tried that, but for me it was just a broken, buggy mess, so I couldn't really get into it.
I liked it. Maybe it's just because, my Red Dead bias. But, if I wasn't to pick that, because, it's not quite a game, it's a DLC.
It's more like an expansion.
Yeah, so if I wasn't to pick that, I probably would go for... I did like Dead Island. I didn't finish it.
Dead Island's pretty good, but I heard that the story's like... near the end of the story is like kind of terrible. So it's like for the first half, it's pretty good.
The first half was really good, and then I sort of put it down. But Left 4 Dead as well.
I want to get around to playing Dead Island. I think I did play a little bit of it because at the time. It was it was available free for the weekend, and I was able to sit down and play it for a bit, but wasn't able to get as far as I'd like into it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would say it's pretty good. I like the story that's involved.
Although I'm not sure about the second one. I think I've seen a video on it, but...
Yeah, I haven't heard too much about the second one, to be honest. It didn't seem to be as influential as the first.
Although, another good one, even though... Oh, it's a good zombie series, is Dead Rising. I just like it more just because of its creative, wacky nature. I would like to give Dead Rising 3 a try, although I've heard 4 isn't great.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I think that they say 2's the best one, but...
And yeah, if you guys have any recommendations for creepypasta stories for us to check out, let us know.
Actually, on that note, I guess I might as well announce what one we'll be doing next, because I'll probably just pick out another one of my personal favourites to do, which actually that's a tough choice because I'm kind of wanting to do one of the more experiment-based ones. So,
okay.
Oh, I think we should do I think that's going to be next, is the Russian sleep experiment.
Cool.
Either that or the Harbinger experiment, so it's going to be either.
Cool. You mentioned, the Russian sleep experiment a few times to me, so I have no idea. I haven't read that one, so I'm interested to see what that one's all about.
That one, it's interesting, but the Harbinger's also really good as well.
Okay, cool.
I think we'll do a coin toss.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. All right, until next time.
Yeah, see yous.